plowing ahead. He says, while looking for a job, I encountered numerous agencies that offer internships, but none for pay. It seems, how is that legal, by the way? You don't pay him anything? It seems like many places take advantages of the bad economy and the desperate job seekers to lure them into doing work for free. Unfortunately, I'm one of them. Dude, what kind of a scumbag? This is what, I want to go undercover into corporate America, and I want to see how that goes down. Is it just like the mob where you're like, hey, it's not personal, it's business. Oh!
Well, if you check out the market, what the market will bear now is it's advantageous if you're the employer to not to take advantage of the human resources and offer them a negative cash flow contract. However they never just come out and say, hey, let's take advantage of the future and pay them absolutely nothing. So we can put rims on our flashy fucking cars. Anyways, he says, what do these agencies offer in exchange? Experience, building your resume, making connections with other employees, promises of hiring after a short period, and other bullshit like that. He says, fuck that, in capital letters. You mentioned in Joe Rogan's podcast how comedians should not offer their material for free in exchange for exposure, and I completely agree. These unpaid internships that are so popular right now need to stop. I'm more efficient than some of my full-time coworkers at my internships, which are not a surprise. Are part of a workers' union. And I work. Here comes my bad reading skills. I got totally confused with his parentheses. He says, and I work there only 2 days out of the week. If it wasn't funny, it would be sad. So he's basically saying in those 2 days he does more work than the people who are members of the union. That's something that unions have to address here. I'm all about unions, but, just because you now have the power to lean on a shovel doesn't mean you should. And that's what's really fucked over unions. Unions were a great idea, and people died, had their heads kicked in, got shot at by our own fucking army when guys like Andrew Carnegie had the connections to bring them in, like he did there in the fucking banks of the Allegheny out there in Pittsburgh or wherever the fuck it was at. That's now a mall. All right? They needed those unions so we could avoid the sweatshop labor conditions that existed in this country. And then what happened? Aside from the mob taking over those things, what happened is guys used the unions, the power of unions, as a way to get over fucking paid and not to bust their ass at work anymore. So then they became the exact fucking thing that they were rebelling against. So I understand why corporations move their fucking companies out of this country. I also understand why that there had to be unions. This is what it always comes down to, is people are people. Rich people aren't the only greedy fucking assholes out there. Middle class and poor people, if you put them in a position where they can be greedy, the sad thing is most people will take advantage of this situation. These are not unique theories. This is the overall theory, harsh theory that most people learn when they get out of their house and they get into the real world. There's very few good people out there, poor, middle class, or fucking rich. There's very few people that'll actually do the right thing. So I 100% agree with that. It would be, speaking of unions, it would be great if you could somehow start one. That's what you need to do, is you need to get everybody on the same page and say, listen, we're not saying you got to give us all of us, but this fucking working for free is ridiculous. They're totally taking advantage of you because of the market. But I guess if it's a good market, you guys can take advantage of them. I don't know, man. It's just, I don't know. Who the fuck knows? But there's just something wrong with having kids work for fucking free. All right? And I will say to people who are in unions, which I am 100% in support of, you motherfuckers need to work harder. And you'll have a better public image. Now, I'm not saying everybody in unions don't, all of them lean on shovels, but You know why you got that reputation. Okay, I'm Irish. I know why we got the reputation for being a bunch of drunk motherfuckers, because so many of us are. Or at least enough of us got so fucking drunk that we completely wiped out any sort of good Irishman out there. All right? So there you go. Another one, documentaries, underrated. In the last few months, I've become a big fan of documentaries, especially about our corrupted economy, our fucked up culture, and our dying planet and environment. I have to say, these films put a really gray picture as far as our civilization goes. Yeah, I know. That's why I kind of stopped watching them. I just try to do the right thing in my own life. If I watch too many of those, they really depress the shit out of me. The present is already looking bad, and I do not see a way we can dig ourselves out of this hole that we've created. I just don't understand why people dismiss these types of films. Are they trying to avoid the painful truth? Absolutely. I just said I was. Are they in denial? Absolutely. There are ways and solutions to fix it, but as long as we have Democrats versus Republicans, white versus blacks versus Hispanics, coal and oil energy versus clean energy, and most importantly, fucking paper money and stock markets, nothing's going to change. Yeah, this is the exact conclusion that I came to. Although I don't agree that a lot of the clean energy they say is clean energy. Like, as much as I drive a hybrid, which is really a scam, it's only an electric car when it's going 5 miles an hour Other than that, it's just an underpowered gas car. But it does burn clean, and it does get great gas mileage. But, you know, electric cars, I mean, those batteries, eventually you have to dispose of those, and those things wreak havoc. Basically, human beings in general wreak havoc on the environment. So I think the solution is you have to have some sort of population control. And they should do it sooner rather than later, because if they did it sooner, we could avoid some sort of Stalin-esque / Hitler solution, because that's what the fuck they're going to do. I think the problem with human beings is we treat global problems the same way a college kid treats doing a term paper. We do it the night before. You know, remember Y2K? We knew that shit was coming. And it ended up not being a fucking problem, but everybody panicked in the final 2 months. They were talking about it for 10 years that we were going to possibly have this fucking problem, and we waited until the last fucking second. And I think that the population problem is going to be the same thing. There's too many fucking people. There's nothing wrong with chopping down trees. There's nothing wrong with using coal. There's nothing wrong with driving a big car. There's nothing wrong with any of that. The problem is that there's 7 billion people on the fucking planet. That's a problem. All right, we need to get that number way the fuck down. Way the fuck down. I would say under 1 billion. Under 1 billion people, you need to do that. So I think that you should just implement laws, the amount of people, kids that you can have. And I also think that, you know, you should offer people money to not have kids. Adopt kids, recycle. I think that they should do all of that type of stuff while they try to have cleaner burning cars and that type of shit, and just gradually let people kind of die off. You know? That's what I feel. You know, because if you don't do that, then eventually I think that we're going to run out of food, run out of clean water, and you're going to have the rich in their gated communities, and they're going to be guarded by the Blackwater people. And they're just going to be shooting out the rest of us in their fucking heads, in our heads. That's what I think is going to happen, personally. You know, if Mother Nature doesn't get us first.